Hey, welcome to the series of everything you need to know about Python in simplest possible way. In the series of pattern printing, so far we have seen so many patterns. In this video, we will see how we can actually print this particular pattern. If you could carefully observe this pattern, we have 5 rows and on each row we were printing some values here. So let's go ahead and see how we can actually print this particular pattern. So for that what I will be doing is that I will take a variable rows and I will assign with 5. So because we have observed we have 5 rows here. So for that reason I am taking rows variable and I am assigning with 5. Later we will dynamically take this value of 5 from the user based on the user input. We will print this kind of a pattern. So later what I will be doing is that I will take a spaces variable, because if you could carefully observe in this pattern, apart from these numbers we are also having these spaces. Before actually printing these particular spaces, we cannot actually print this particular pattern. For that reason I am taking spaces and I will assign these spaces with 0. Why I am assigning with 0 is because in the first row we don't have any spaces. For that reason I am assigning these spaces with the value 0. Later what I will be doing is that, as we have observed, we have 5 rows. I will take a for loop to generate those 5 rows here. So for I in range, we will generate a range of values to generate rows here. So for that reason, what are the range of values we will be generating is that we will start with rows and we will go till the value of 0, and on each iteration we will do it -1. Why I'm doing this is because in the first row we can have 5 rows, in the second row we are having 4 rows. Like that the number of rows are keep reducing. For that reason I am starting with rows and I am reducing those rows till the value of 1. So for that reason I have mentioned 0 here, so that it will stop at the value 1. So later what I will be doing is that I will just print the value I to know what values we are having in I. So I am printing the value I, and you can able to see the values as 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And you can actually compare these values with this particular pattern. We have 5 rows, 4 rows, 3 rows, 2 rows, and 1 here. So 5, 1 value here. These are all the values on each row we are having. So we can actually see that in here. If you can able to observe this last column here, we are having 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So what we can actually do in this each row is that we are actually starting with value 1 and going till the value of whatever the value that we are having in here, which is the value of I. So can't we print this particular each row by starting with 1 and going till the value of I, which is what we have printed here. So we can actually do that, right? So think about it, and we will doing what we will be doing is that I will take a one more for loop, because on each row we are printing some values and these values are repeatedly printing on each row. So what we generally do when we have repeated statements, we use loops, right? So that is what I am doing in here. And as we are using one for loop inside of another for loop, it will become inner loops. So nested loops. So that is what I am doing here, and I will use j in range. Now we will generate a range of values. So the question is, what are the range of values? So as we have discussed earlier, we will start with 1 and go till the value of I. So that is what I will do here. And I am starting with 1. I am mentioning I plus 1 so that I can go till the value of I. So I am putting a colon here. Instead of printing I, we will print the value of j here, because that is what the main intention of ours to print this particular pattern, right? So we can actually get this pattern by using this j value. So that is where all the values are present. So if we just print this particular thing, we can actually generate this particular number. So later we can actually arrange those numbers to get the pattern. So first of all, we will see what values we are having in j. So if you can see here, we are having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3. Like that, we are actually getting the numbers. The only thing we need to do is that we need to arrange those numbers so that we can actually get the pattern. So to arrange, first what I will be doing is that I will use an end parameter which is by default in print having a new line character. That is the reason we are actually getting all these things in the new lines. So if I execute this by putting end is equal to single space, we can actually get everything in a single line. So that is not also what we wanted. So for that, what I will be doing is that I am putting a print statement after completion of this inner for loop. Because why I'm putting is this, because after completion of each row we are going to the new row, right? So that is what we are having here. So after this inner for loop is defined to print these rows here. So for that reason, after completion of printing each rows, we will printing a new line character which is by default an end parameter which is of new line character. So that is the reason I am putting an print statement. By putting this print statement, we can actually print a new line character simply. So if I execute this, we can able to get this particular pattern, but still that is not what we wanted. So as you remember what I have told earlier, before actually printing these particular spaces, we cannot actually print this pattern. So before actually printing these numbers, we need to print spaces, right? So that is what we will be doing now. When we need to print spaces is that before actually printing the numbers. So in this inner for loop, we are actually printing the numbers. So in outer for loop, I will print the spaces. So I am taking spaces and I am multiplying this space with this spaces variable. By using this spaces variable only, we are keep tracking of these spaces, right? So for that reason, I am using these spaces here. So by I will use an end parameter with nothing. So if I don't use this end parameter, it will by default take a new line character and we won't get the actual pattern. For that reason, I am taking this end parameter as nothing. So after completion of this printing, we also need to increase the spaces by 2 on each iteration. So if you carefully see here, we are having 0 spaces in the first row and 2 spaces in second row and 4 spaces in third row. Like that, the spaces are increased by 2 on each iteration. For that reason, I am increasing these spaces by 2 on each iteration. So now if I execute this, I can able to get the exact pattern that what we have expected here. Now I hope you can able to understand this pattern, and I hope you can able to understand this logic to generate this particular pattern. So if you found any confusion during the understanding, I sincerely suggest you to go through the video once again so that you can able to understand it clearly. So now what we will be doing is that we will dynamically take input of these rows from user. So for that, I am putting an input. I am asking enter rows here. So now if I execute this, it was asking to enter rows. If I give the value, let's say 4 here, I can able to get this pattern, which is of something like this. So now if I give the value as 9 here, I can able to get the pattern that is what we have expected. So now I hope you have understood how we can generate this particular pattern by any number given by the user. So if you found this video interesting, hit the like button. In the next video, we will see how we can actually print this particular pattern. So to stay updated, subscribe to this channel and turn on the notifications to all so that whenever I upload any video, you will get the notification. So thank you for watching this video. See you in the next one.